Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Prof. Lee. Everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. It's very kind words that Prof. Lee has said. And guys, I'll just be very honest. I mean, we became an entrepreneur because it wasn't one day we sat down for coffee and thought of a great idea. Well, NUS didn't offer me a faculty position. That's one of the reasons. But jokes aside, let me share some of my journey. Hopefully that will give you sort of perhaps a different view of what could happen during PhD and what could happen after PhD. So let me share my screen. All right, are you able to see this?
Yes, very well.
Okay, great. So yeah, so my job.
Can you make it full screen or not?
That's what I thought. Give me a second.
Because there's a lot of black space.
Does this work?
I think it's fine. Yeah, maybe your screen is a little small, so it should be fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're in the area of developing cancer diagnostic tests. Just to share a bit of my personal journey, I did both my undergrad and PhD in NUS, starting from 2003. So no longer under 35 clearly. We then spent a couple of years to develop the platform where we founded the company in 2014 after my PhD, 2 years after my graduation from the School of Medicine. And ever since then, it has been quite a journey. We started the business in Singapore. We then moved on. We set up shop in US, in China, in Japan. And this year, the team had very much an adrenaline rush to develop COVID-19 solutions that has been supporting 45 different countries in that battle against COVID. So over the years, we have essentially used the knowledge that we have gained during our PhD and subsequently to build a business in biotechnology, specifically around microRNA, in biomarkers and moving forward in therapeutics. We have launched cancer early detection tests, and we have also contributed our capability in COVID-19 testing. So, COVID-19 is a big problem, but cancer is an even bigger problem. And I won't delve too much into that, but that's where, we found our passion. And we are looking at serving not so much of the major market, but in the markets where it's underserved, and that's Southeast Asia. So we look at the entire value chain. We look at how to improve patient survival and reduce healthcare costs at the same time. And as I mentioned, we are in 4 different markets. Headquartered in Singapore, we have about 100 over people. And I'm very happy to share that, at least 30% of everyone in Marex's team come from NUS, many of which has done undergrad, master's, and PhD. So we're truly grateful that NUS has trained many good students, which has formed the company. So we discover, we develop, we diagnose, and all this is very much scientific driven. We supply the tests to around the region as well as globally. And very recently, exciting news, just yesterday, one of our peers was acquired for $2 billion. Another peer was acquired earlier this year for $8 billion. So I'm still waiting for that call and says, guys, I want to make you a bid, although I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But what I want to share really is my PhD in NUS was among the most, if not the most enjoyable time of my life. Frankly, it's not about the cert, right? Yes, you will get a cert towards the end of your graduation, but I think what I truly gained through my PhD is learning how to learn. Not every single thing you learn in your undergrad or your PhD is going to be useful in your career, but I learned how to learn, and that's important. Because in our very long career, now we are talking about graduation at 70 years old or 80 years old, we will be doing different things. So it's not so much of the skill of pipetting or economics or IT. it is about learning how to learn. We may have to switch careers. More importantly, I found my passion. I did the PhD starting from neuroscience in medical school, and gradually we have migrated that to cancer because we saw a huge unmet need. And I believe we all had loved ones that either have suffered or are suffering from cancer. We spun off a company, and during my PhD time, I also found a lot of people who had similar mindset, who had the shared vision that we spun off the company together. And I also happened to marry my wife during that time. She didn't do a PhD, and she wasn't from science. So I think I heard a question about work-life balance. I think it's very important that we have achieved a certain level of balance or integration while we still work very hard. So just want to share, in the PhD, that's really the best time to do your science, because the moment you graduate, you go into academia or company, there are a lot of distractions, there are a lot of pressures, right? So you have the best time to focus, to learn about science, to learn about how to learn during your PhD time. And for us, we found microRNA. We found something unique about microRNA that's important for cancer early detection. We found the biology. We also developed the technology. So for guys who are going to engineering, science, I encourage you to not only understand the science, also think about, can you come up with a new technology, a new solution, a new discovery that you can then bring to your next career, whether you're going to stay in academia or you're going to the industry. So a lot of work was done, making a technology. It wasn't easy because you have to develop something that is truly competitive in order for that to be spun off into a company to be commercially viable. Science, again, a lot of the science that has underlined the success of NUSGS today came from our days in NUS, right? And we continue to work with a lot of collaborators, either during our PhD days or people who were in our cohort who has then gone on to other countries, US, Japan, China, right? So do your science and continue to do your science, whether you go into academia or into the private practice. Think about your passion. I was very glad that many of us found our passion, and for me, that's in cancer. And how do we improve the survival of cancer patients? Because more and more people are getting cancer, and that really underlies the years of work that we have done in NUSGS developing blood tests. Right, so GastroClear is the world's first stomach cancer microRNA test that could detect with very high sensitivity early stage of cancer. We launched that late last year, although it was disrupted by COVID, but before that, the adoption was wonderful. Recognition in nature, and more importantly, the first week that we have received regulatory approval of the test, we went on to work with the grassroots leaders, the community leaders, in making this accessible and affordable to the people in the ground, right? So in this particular case, we donated 500 tests to a community event to encourage people to go for cancer screening. And that event was graced by the very own Prime Minister of Singapore. And if you choose to go into the industry, there will be many fun things that you can do, which probably is not available in academia. So we started industry standards because we feel the need to align everybody to the same common good practice. Although we started from lab, we have to learn how to manufacture, we have to learn how to build manufacturing sites because we're developing something new. There isn't a manufacturing practice. We then went on to set up clinical labs, which is now running COVID tests. So there were many things that we did post PhD that was utilizing the same mindset, the same knowledge that we learned during PhD that became very useful. And I just want to end by talking about the third and the most important thing, people, right? Doing PhD can be lonely. In fact, you will encounter countless failures. There will be many experiments that doesn't work, many hypotheses that you will not be able to prove. And it's truly important that you're not doing this alone. And because of accidental entrepreneurs, this was a picture of the bunch of us, the lab rats, from Professor Tu Hin Feng's lab in biochemistry. None of these look entrepreneur, right? None of these look business-like. But that group was really what accelerated us into developing something. The support from the group, the mutual respect is something that the camaraderie during PhD or post-PhD is what you're looking for. So like-minded people who can go on to this tough journey with you during PhD or after PhD. We then start to learn how to dress a little bit better. We go to a better barber to cut our hairs because now we're doing business. And today we have at least half of the core team coming from NUS. Everybody did a PhD in NUS, and we're very proud that Memarexis is a homegrown company with homegrown talents that's doing something that's truly global. So I just want to end by saying, if I can think of the few things that became important. So to become an entrepreneur in the biotech space, you have to be strong in science. So don't waste your time. If you go into NUS to do PhD degrees in science, engineering, or any other subjects, spend the time well, learn what you can. I was always joking because we are lab rats, right? So we never had formal business training, but a lot of scientific training will give you the same basis to think about what's viable business technology wise. Being open-minded, one of the key things that as PhD or as PhD is be very open-minded. There's no wrong ideas. There's no wrong question. And lastly, this is very important. Be willing to innocently and for me more like shamelessly asking for advice. Right? If you don't ask for help, people don't know that you need help. So all of my peers, the professors during my PhD time was super helpful, and they're very willing to help. So when you're doing this tough journey, when you encounter a problem, a challenge, just be shameless to ask for help, whether it's in your own lab, it's in the same department, the faculty, or cross faculties. I believe we have a very nurturing environment in NUS, and just be willingness to ask for advice. So I'm going to end here and wish you all the best in your PhD journey, and happy to take on any questions.
Thank you, Lihan. I think I heard that he's a very, very busy man, getting a lot of money. So I think there are two questions that for you in the Q&A. One is there any funding mobilities for a visiting PhD student, especially for urban analytics lab?
Sorry, a funding for visiting PhD students.
Yeah, so you can look at the questions under Q&A. Can you see it?
Give me a second. Let me look at the question.
So there are two questions.
I'm okay for the first question. I'm not sure whether I'm best positioned to answer that. In the urban analytics lab, I'm sure there are funding opportunities. Prof, do you want to take that question? I'm not sure I'm in a position to answer that.
I'm really not sure because we are academics. Okay, so never mind. Maybe you can try to answer the second question, whether you have any job opening, I guess.
Oh, we do. We have 45 openings, which it's very hard to fill. So we do have internships with local and overseas institutions. Be happy to talk. I think you can find me on LinkedIn. Just Google my name, Lihan, or if you got my email here, you can email me. I can link you up with our HR. We do have that. If you're a foreign medical student right now, I'm not sure whether you're able to come into Singapore, but if you are, we'll be very happy to talk about, if we can share what we do with you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Lihan? If not, maybe you'd like to just give one last advice to those who are thinking about doing a PhD. Is a PhD worthwhile if you want to be an entrepreneur like yourself?
Yeah, stop thinking, just do it. It is totally worthwhile.
Okay, thank.
I would not be here if I didn't do the PhD in NUS. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, and
Thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming, joining us here. Um, I hope everyone have enjoyed the talks and are inspired to consider NUS for your PhD education. We will now take a very short break and we'll return again at 6:30 p.m. for more talks in the field of dentistry, law, sociology, and political science, as well as one more sharing from another graduate student, and this time from an alumni who is a faculty in Canada. Okay, so let's meet back at 6:30 p.m.